For motocross, it's spectacular, it's exciting, it draws huge crowds with all kinds of action, big jumps and big stars.
It's Supercross. It's spectacular with all kinds of action, big jump, and big stars.
Here's one example, Bob Hurricane Hanna. In his prime, he was the winningest rider of all, the king of the sport. He was 3 times Supercross champion with 27 total 250cc wins, more than any other rider in AMA history. Here's another example, Jeff Ward. He was 2-time Supercross champion, plus 500cc, 250cc, and 125cc champion.
Bob Hanna and Jeff Ward. They have a lot in common, but they don't see eye to eye.
Well, Wardy, I like yellow.
Well, Bob, I like green.
Ward, I like blondes.
I like brunettes.
I like Suzuki's.
I like Kawasaki's.
Well, I like outdoors.
I like indoors.
Hey, don't you agree on anything?
Well, we both think racing with the AMA is a lot of fun.
We both think the AMA is your best bet for the future of motorcycling.
And we think you ought to join.
Come on, join the big stars. Join the AMA. Call toll-free 1-800-AMA-JOIN. The AMA, it's the best deal in motorcycling. Just ask the big guys.
Webster's definition of motocross reads, a cross-country motorcycle race over a course of rough terrain, steep hills, and hairpin curves. Well, 5-time world champion and Glen Helen track designer Roger DeCoster has taken that definition to heart. His course layout is certainly rough, has plenty of hills, and includes hairpin curves. Now add to that equation searing 100-degree heat, and you have the ultimate two-wheel challenge. It's the EBC Brakes Moto Fest, and it's coming up next on Cycle World.
Cycle World presents AMA Motocross.
Hello, everyone. I'm Larry Myers. Welcome to San Bernardino, California, and the inaugural running of MotoFest. Now, MotoFest is a rather unique event for several reasons. First, the track is diabolical. Second, the heat out here today is inhuman. And third, this event is being held in the backyard of the Big Four Japanese motorcycle manufacturers. That puts a lot of pressure on the riders. They want to do well in front of those that, well, sign their checks. And finally, and perhaps most important, today's event is an experiment. For the first time in history, the AMA will hold a national championship motocross utilizing a supercross format. In Supercross, there are 2 heat races, 2 semis, and 1 last chance qualifier to establish a 20-rider field to race in 1 main event of 20-lap duration. Now, today we will deviate slightly from the Supercross format. We will establish a 40-rider field for 1 main event of 30 minutes and 2 laps. We will have 2 heats, but no semis, and 1 last chance qualifier to transfer riders to the main event. Now, for more on this experimental format, let's go to the pits where Prime Network motocross analyst Jim Holley is standing by with a most appropriate guest.
Thank you very much, Larry. The man to the left of me needs no introduction. 5-time world motocross champion Roger DeCoster, and co-promoter of the MotoFest, and the man most responsible for the motocross supercross experiment. Roger, question's very simple. Why?
Basically to keep things simple. With today's format, many people leave the race without knowing who won the overall race. FIM even went to a 3-heat format, and there you need a pocket calculator to figure out who is the overall winner. And I don't think that's very good for the sport when people come and see an event and they don't know the winner was at the end of the day. And often they think it's the wrong guy because they think it's the winner of the last race. And to avoid that and to have the program building to a culminating point, the exciting building from the beginning towards the end of the program. That's why we're doing it.
What about all the traditionalists out there?
Well, the traditionalists, they should know that when Motocross World Championship was started in 1957, it was a one-heat format, and they did that for several years. It was an hour long. It was kind of the same format as they do in road racing today, and for several years. The kind of racing that Wayne Rainey, Eddie Lawson, Kenny Roberts is doing, there was no two heats. So the excuse about that you need a second chance and all that, that's mainly for the guys that they are unprepared. And there's another factor is that when you're winning as a top rider, you never like to have changes because you always worry that you're not going to win anymore. If they change something, maybe it's going to be bad for you. But the best guys always come out on top.
That's the word from five-time world motocross champion Roger DeCoster. Let's hear what some of the riders had to say.
They say that having the one moto format, the fans are going to know, they're going to know who's leading, how the points works and stuff like that. Well, I don't think that's, I think when the people go out to nationals, they're diehard fans. They're not going to get any new people that go to the Indy 500 and sit there and, set up in the stands and, have it nice and clean and expect that out of a motorcycle race for one moto. I don't think that's going to help the sport at all. And I think they should just stick with the two moto format.
I think that the outdoor is more grueling. It's traditionally the 2 30-minute plus 2-lap motos, and normally the guy in the best physical condition walks away with the overall. And in a one moto format, it's going to be back to an important start and penning it for just one moto. Even if it's a 40-minute moto, starts are going to mean a lot more than in a two moto format where you have more time to make your passes.
AMA changed a lot of rules so far, since when they first started, and everything could be worked on and everything could be fixed a little bit more, fine-tuned. I don't know, I think they should probably do it just to see how it works out, because I know a lot of spectators, I'll go to a race, even a lot of my friends I talk to, and they'll come back and they won't know who won because, you had to add points here and there, you have to do this and that. And I think everybody will know for sure who won. But for the rider standpoint, I'm not sure. We'll see after Glen Helen.
After several hours of roundtable discussion, the issue was settled the roundtable way. 2 knights went at it. The promoters and those for the one moto format hired the knight in green, while the riders and the rest opposed hired the knight in red. And what will the format of AMA National Championship Motocross be? Let's watch the outcome of this battle and find out. Let me give you a hint. It's going to be a swift blow to the midsection. There it is. It's going to be a one moto format from here on out. We'll be back to see how it works with the EBC Brakes Moto Fest right after this. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is AMA National Championship Motocross. We're in the Honda pits in San Bernardino, California. The Honda slogan, 1993, watch the Red Riders. Take a look at Jeremy Mcgrath in the back of the truck here in just a second. You'll see what we mean. Actually, we're under a red awning with the sun beating through, and it makes everything look a little bit on the red side. Not a sunburn, just the red awning coming through. It is hot here today, about 110 degrees. It's going to be miserable for those that are riding on the racetrack. Going to be a very, very tough day. Now, Mcgrath, one of the heroes. Here's one of the guys that is looking to be a hero. Robbie Raynord, rider number 593, one of the young guns coming up. This is his first full season of motocross. He is touted to be an upcoming star. There's Robbie. How you doing, Robbie? He says, son, don't bother me. We're set to go racing. Now, if you were tuned in at the outset of the program, you know that Robbie and the rest of the stars will be racing under a new format, a single moto to determine the winner. The old format, 2 motos. Let's take a look at how that went at Troy, Ohio just a week ago, the last race in the series. First moto, watch this crash coming up. We're going to end up with a couple of riders on the ground, key riders, I might add. James Dobb from England in the Kawasaki. There he is picking himself up in the center of the screen. He broke his wrist. He's going to be out of contention for the rest of the year. Let's go to the far left side of the screen. Rider number 15. Had a look at him just a few moments ago as he's preparing for today's race. That was Jeremy Mcgrath. Mcgrath picked himself up at the tail end of the pack. He's got a lot of work to do to be in contention for this one. Who was up front? Team Suzuki's Ezra Lusk, rider number 43, the guy breathing down his neck, the defending national champ. That's Jeff Emig, and Emig did not stay in that position long at all. Emig just breezed right to the head of the pack. That was number 19, Brian Swink, who had worked up to the number 3 position, and this is the way it ended, Emig being chased by Doug Henry. Henry finishes second, Swink would take third, and Ezra Lusk, the early leader, well, he was way down in 33rd place. Another crash in Moto number 2. Jeremy Mcgrath continues his plague of bad luck. Another crash, and he's at the tail end of the pack one more time, and Mcgrath again goes to work. Now, Moto number 2 is going to end just like Moto number 1 with the defending national champ, Jeff Emig, taking the win. Here he is in first place. Right behind him comes Ezra Lusk. That's Doug Henry. He'll ultimately finish in second place. But watch what happens to Lusk. Lusk was doing pretty well there. He was catching up. Takes a tumble on the whoop-de-doo section, soft section of the track. That one wasn't so tough. Picks himself up. Now watch, he gets into a bumping match with Jeremy Mcgrath, and he comes out second best. Ironic thing here is Jeremy Mcgrath started both motos at the rear end of the pack and worked forward, while Ezra Lusk started at the front of the pack, and we'll invent a new word here. He worked rearward. The guy that did the best, though, all day long, Jeff Emig. Pair of moto wins gives him the overall. Doug Henry with 2 second places, finishes second overall. Then came Damon Huffman and Jeremy Mcgrath rounding out the top 4. The importance of the wins today, well, Jeff Emig with his 3rd win of the season moved into the points lead. He was trailing Doug Henry coming into this, the 7th round of the season. Jeremy Mcgrath holds on to 3rd, while Eric Kehoe, top privateer in the series, remains in 4th place. That brings us up to date. Keep in mind, that was the old format that brought us up to date. Here at San Bernardino, we're looking at a brand new format. A couple of heat races to put riders into the main event, a single main event, a single moto to determine the overall winner. This is a look at action earlier this morning in heat race number 1. All the riders cleared corner number 1 with no problem, and when the dust had settled, there were a pair of Hondas out front. Doug Henry and Jeremy Mcgrath, teammates. Henry with the early lead, Mcgrath in pursuit. Now, the importance of a heat race is this. Number 1, the top 16 finishers move into the main event. Number 2, the better you finish, the better your pick on the gate for the start of that main event. And that's critical when you're looking at a one-moto format. Watch the pass attempt coming up. I shouldn't say attempt, watch the pass. Rider number 15, Jeremy Mcgrath, puts a supercross move on Doug Henry, a block pass. He takes over the number 1 position. Meanwhile, rider number 86, Damon Huffman, aboard his Suzuki, has moved into the number 3 position. Watch this. You say your vision's a little bit cloudy? He'll reach up and pull that little string on the edge of his goggles. That puts a whole new film across the front. He can see again. So first heat race, Mcgrath, Henry, Huffman, and Jeff DeMett rounding out the top 4, top 16 to the main. Jim Holly, how did it go in heat race number 2?
Well, it's going to go good for some, others not so good. Let's watch the start here, heat number 2 in the 125 class. Hopefully that AMA guy is going to get out of the way there. He's going to get run over here. Here we're going to see Jeff Emig whole shot. But let me call your attention to the first turn pilot. There's about 15 riders going down. Most notably, Robbie Raynord, 593. Team Kawasaki manager Roy Turner running out to the track. You bet he's protecting his investment there. Newly signed Robbie Raynord to Team Kawasaki. Had big things for Robbie in '94 season. Up front, we're going to see Jeff Emig just pulling away, having fun, doing the step down there. Eric Kehoe in tow, running second. Mike Metzger in third here. Jeff Emig, it's important for him to win this heat race. He gets the number 1 pick on the gate. All the people that signed his checks are out here from Yamaha today. Here we're going to see Ezra Lusk coming up on Eric Kehoe here for the battle for second place. Unfortunately, the battle ended a little bit short for Ezra Lusk. Ran into a hay bale, knocked it right into the middle of the track there. The AMA official had to move it. Ezra Lusk on his way. He ended up finishing 3rd for the day. That's not too bad for the heat race. He'll have a good pick on the gate. Let's look at the results from heat race number 2 in the 125 class. Jeff Emig up front on his Yamaha. Eric Kehoe finishing 2nd on the Honda. Ezra Lusk bringing the Suzuki home for 3rd. And Brian Swink put another Suzuki up in the top 4, finishing 4th. Larry, what happened in the last chance?
Well, we'll point out one more time that out of the 2 heat races, the top 16 riders made it into the main event. This is the final opportunity. Terry Parsons, rider number 777, led the field. The top 8 riders from the last chance will go on into the main. Here the top 4 was Parsons. It was Todd DeHoop, Brian Roth, Scott Sheik. So that gives us a full field of 40 riders that will compete now in a single moto, a single race to determine the overall winner here today. Again, a brand new format, a single race to determine the winner. We'll be back with the 125cc main event right after this. AMA National Championship Motocross here on Cycle World. We're in San Bernardino, California, Glen Helen Off-Highway Vehicle Park. That's where they do it in the dirt. And today we're doing it to a brand new format, a single main event to determine the overall winner. Most motocross events, if you have followed the action here on Prime Network, have taken 2 motos to come up with a winner. Today, though, as the gate has dropped, we're looking at a single race to determine the winner. Should be a lot easier to follow the action. That guy followed the action all the way down to the ground. Jim, that's not a good way to start.
That was David Pingree. Up front, Jeff Emig. We're going to see Emig here. If I was Emig, I'd want to pull away here in this 110-degree.
I'd have to agree with you because look what's coming. Doug Henry on the inside made the most of a good move there. He passed Mike Metzger, to take over the number 2 position. Now, these 2 riders have chased each other throughout the series. They've chased each other in individual races. They have chased each other in overall standings and certainly in the championship point standings. They're running 1 and 2 in that order. Emig is on top and Doug Henry is in second, and this series is winding down. This is race number 8 of the 12 race series. I think they're going to take it to the wire. Excellent track out here. Roger DeCoster has carved this thing out of the side of a mountain, and he's just done a heck of a job, Jim.
Well, he's combined a little bit of the outdoor tracks with a little bit of the supercross. You're going to notice a lot of whoop-de-doos in here, and there's a lot of doubles and a lot of long tabletops. So it is a really physically demanding track. And along with the 110-degree weather, the smog, it's going to be a big factor today.
Indeed, it will be a factor. That 110 degrees leaves a lot to be desired if you're a rider.
Well, it's hard to breathe in 110-degree weather, and also with the smog and everything. And like you said, this is a new format. One moto, they're not holding they're just running a hard pace here. They're not holding anything back. There's no second moto here today. It's a winner take all.
All the money, all the points, and all the glory. Let's take a look at the point standings in the 125cc National Championship race coming into this event. Emig has won 3 times, has 280 points. Only 3 points back is Doug Henry. Now, Henry has a single win, but he has been the more consistent of the 2 riders. I'd have to think, Jim, that the points chase will go down to these 2.
Well, I have to agree with you. It is going to go down between Emig and Henry. But today, the most important thing that you forgot, it's double points. Normally, they only get 25 points for a single moto. Today, it's a big 50 points, and that presents a big factor. If one of these guys DNF that are leading this race here, like Emig, if he drops it, we're talking 50 points he's losing. You can bet the mechanics are worried that those bikes are going to finish.
Well, we've discussed the points, we've discussed the format. Let's get back to some race action. Doug Henry, rider number 16, is in second place in the championship series. He's in second place in the race, chasing Jeff Emig, the defending national champ. Right behind Henry is Michael Craig. He's a Team Kawasaki rider. And here's the battle for the number 4 position. Metzger running in 4th. Here comes Ezra Lusk, Team Suzuki, and Lusk rails around the outside. Lusk will take over the number 4 position. He does it with ease, almost like Metzger says, what am I doing up here? Here comes a star. I'm going to get out of the way.
I don't know if he wanted to get out of the guy's way necessarily. I've been in both positions here as a factory rider and as a privateer. Sometimes as a privateer, you know a factory guy's behind you. It's a little bit too much pressure, so you just want to back off. On the other hand, Ezra Lusk, the door was open. He's going to take advantage of it because if he wants a chance to catch the leaders, he's going to have to get going.
That's a good point. He had to make his move and make it quickly. Meanwhile, the spectators are enjoying themselves. We hope you are too. Emig, Henry, Craig, and Lusk are the leaders. We'll be back with more action. Welcome back to Cycle World. It's AMA Outdoor National Championship Motocross. It's the Moto Fest, San Bernardino, California. We're looking at Doug Henry, who is currently holding down the number 2 position. And a crash. That's Jeremy Mcgrath. Mcgrath was running back at about mid-pack in the early going, had worked all the way up to 10th, Jim, and the soft sand got him.
Sand not only got him, a whole lot of riders got him. He might have been pushing hard. You know, he got a bad start there. When you're coming from the back of the pack, you have a tendency to push really hard.
Here are a couple of riders pushing hard. Emig out front, Doug Henry holding the number 2 position. Henry is right on Emig's rear wheel. We have got a battle coming up. Look at this. Henry goes to the inside, and Henry, wham, he just crowded Emig off the racetrack. Man, oh man, there are going to be some conversation in the pits, I have to think, between those 2 riders. That was kind of a marginal move. We need to go back and take another look at that action, and you can explain, Jim, how they got into that position and whether or not you think it was marginal or was it good.
I think it was a great move. It was a championship move. He just flat leaned in him. I think Emig should have backed off. I can guarantee you one thing, Larry. They're not going to buy each other the dinner tonight.
I'll bet you in the Yamaha camp, they will not agree with your analysis. You're the expert. I'll bow to your opinion. Emig should have gotten out of the way, I guess, and let Doug Henry go through. In any event, Emig now is in the position that Henry was in. He has to play catch-up. On a track like this one, can Jeff Emig do that? Can he catch up? Or is Henry going to have to crash before Emig can regain that #1 position?
Well, I think Roger DeCosta did a good job on designing the track, and Blake Hamilton, the actual guy running the bulldozers, they designed this track where you can pass and it's easy to pass, and I think he can make up the time.
Interesting turn of events here in San Bernardino. It goes back to this new format, a single race with double points. That little interchange earned about 6 for Doug Henry. Take a look at his consistency in '93 that we had referred to earlier. A 4th, 1st, 2nd, 2nd, 3rd, then the 9th at Unadilla. What happened was a DNF in one of the 2 motos, and Henry was able to come back in the other moto and score maximum points with a win. Can't do that today. It's all being dumped into one, and Doug Henry wants to take full advantage of that. He'll walk out of here if the positions are maintained the way they are right now with the points lead in this 125cc National Championship Series. Oh, and Emig with another problem. Emig is off the track. He's sitting on the side. He looks disgusted. Evidently, he's through for the day. He's giving up. No, now he's cranking his bike again. Unbelievable turn of events, and now putting the bike is running again. I don't understand that, Jim. He should have been cranking on that bike hard. Instead, he stopped, took his goggles off. It's like he had given up, and now he's back into it. He lost a lot of time.
Well, I'm going to agree with you there, Larry. You did lose a lot of time. I wouldn't have took my goggles off. If my bike breaks like that when I was racing, I'm kicking and kicking that thing until it starts. I'm not going to take my goggles off and then put them back on.
Well, I think he's probably kicking and kicking himself. Here comes a move by Jeremy Mcgrath. Mcgrath has been able to use the track features that you referred to get back into the running in this thing. He has really come through the pack since that crash. He just went around Eric Keyhole, and I have to think that Supercross-style jumps, Supercross-style ruts and whoops is what has done this for Jeremy Mcgrath.
Well, he's a 93 250 Supercross champion. I'm going to agree with you there. This track is designed a little bit like Supercross, but yet it's got the outdoor national effect to it with the up and the down hills, and I know it agrees with Jeremy.
And now Jeremy is stalking Tim Ferry, rider number 29, to pick off one more rider, put himself just a little bit closer to the front of the pack. Good line through the corner. He made that pass. Meanwhile, up front, Doug Henry is doing what he has to do. He is putting as much distance between himself and Jeff Emig as he can. And I suspect, Jim, that by doing that, if he makes a mistake, he'll have that much more time to recover.
Well, he's got a big lead right now, and I think that that's what he wants to do. He knows it's really hot out here, and he knows the track's really demanding, and like you said, he can make a bobble, so if he has a cushion, look at that right there as he's going through the whoops. I mean, he's riding hard still.
The rider that is riding possibly the hardest on the track, rider number 15, again, Jeremy Mcgrath. He just moved by Larry Ward. I think that was a battle for the number 7 position. So Mcgrath, who started out at the back of the pack, moved up to about 10th and crashed, is all the way up now well inside the top 10. Got to wonder how well he would have done had it not been for that unfortunate incident that put him on the ground.
Well, you know, he won his heat race going away convincingly over Doug Henry, so, you know, he's got the speed and everything, and I think he's got the stamina here. He's showing it today by working up.
Well, we'll find out very shortly just how far up he can work in this pack. We're going to take one more commercial break, then we'll be back to wrap up the 125cc main event. Henry, Lusk, Craig, and Huffman, our first 4. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Cycle World. We're in San Bernardino, California for AMA National Championship Motocross. It is round 8 of the series. That's Jeremy Mcgrath, rider number 15 from Team Honda. Earlier this season, Mcgrath wrapped up the Supercross Championship by winning 10 main events. That was a record. No one has ever come close to that number. Outdoor motocross, Mcgrath has not quite lived up to that standard. A lot of riders, a lot of managers, a lot of spectators have asked why. They've said he can't handle this tough outdoor track. Well, to get the lowdown, we went to Roger DeCosta and said, Roger, put on your Dirt Bike magazine editor hat, if you will. Tell us what your thoughts might be.
Lately, a lot of people have been asking me about the performance of Jeremy Mcgrath in the Nationals. The Nationals now are midway, and I think the reason they're asking is that they've been so used to him dominating in the Supercross, winning a record 10 events out of 16, And in the Nationals, he's doing quite well compared to last year. He's doing a lot better than last year. He's still hanging in there. He's in 3rd place. After the next heat, it could be opposite. He could be leading, and Jeff Hemmings could be in 3rd place. So it's been a really good series, and I think he's doing fine.
Hard to disagree with the 5-time world champion and his observations. However, Jim Holley, I think that Mcgrath just plain loves Supercross, and he's just putting up with outdoor motocross.
Well, I think he loves the 250 better than the 125 there, and it'd be interesting to see Jeremy on a 250 outdoor national track.
Well, my guess is 1994 that's exactly what we'll see. I think Jeremy is just about done with 125cc machines. Talking about just about done, we're on the last lap of this 125 main event. Jim Holley, I think it's time to say goodbye to you for a short while. You make your way down to the winner's circle and talk to this young man, Doug Henry. He's going to take the checkered flag, and I'd like to hear what he has to say. It's been a hot day of racing here in San Bernardino, and I'll tell you what, I mean that 2 ways. We've had hot action on the racetrack, and the spectators have had a hot time due to the temperatures, about 110 degrees, in watching this one moto format that Doug Henry is just about to claim. He's got a couple of more little whoops and jumps, and he'll roll up. He gestures to the crowd, roll up the face of that finish line jump. He'll collect the checkered flag. There it is. And Doug Henry wins in San Bernardino. He'll take over the points lead. Here comes Dave Arnold, the team manager for Team Honda, over to Doug Henry. And boy, Henry has got to be whipped. There's Jim Holley and no microphone. Henry has a problem. He's off the bike and collapsed to the ground. Jim Holley has dropped his microphone. He's helping Henry over to the side of the truck there, or the tent, trying to get him into some shade, it looks like to me. I talked about that heat, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing here, a heat problem. Doug Henry can hardly stand up and now collapses to the ground. Jim Holley trying to loosen up some of his clothing to get some air to him. There's Bevo Forte from Scott USA. He's pouring water over the top of Henry's head to try to cool him down. And now Bevo Forte was handed an ice pack to put around his neck. That comes off with the shoulder protection. More water being dumped over the back and head and shoulders. They're going to try to take that jersey off, obviously. Jim Holley's supposed to be doing, keep pointing this out, an interview, but right now he's doing the job of the first aid personnel. Obviously, they can't see what is going on, or they would be there, no question about that. Now trying to wipe some of the sweat off, trying to get him cool off. Holley is flapping the jersey. And Doug Henry is going to take this opportunity to stretch out, try to get his breath back and get some liquids into him. That's what he needs to do. They need to get some water into him as quickly as they possibly can. While they do that, we'll take a look at how they finished. Doug Henry on top, Ezra Lusk, Damon Huffman, Jeff Emig dropping all the way to the number 4 position. 5th place, the property of Ryan Hughes, then Jeremy Mcgrath in 6th with a great ride. Eric Kehoe 7th, Larry Ward was 8th. Let's take a look at the championship point standings. Doug Henry back on top, Jeff Emig in 2nd, Jeremy Mcgrath 3rd, not that far out of it, then Eric Kehoe holding down the number 4 position. Meanwhile, Dr. Holley, our own Dr. Holley, is with a somewhat revived Doug Henry trackside.
We're here with Doug Henry, winner of the first moto. Doug, the heat obviously got to you, but we got to admire your confidence for staying out there. I know you just wanted that white checkered flag to come out, and you kept going and you kept going. I know the heat had to got to you.
Yeah, it was really bad. It really didn't hit me till about 3 or 4 laps to go, you know. People were cheering for me, you know, it was great. You can hear them now, boy. It was really great out here. A lot of fans out here.
Well, I know you train out here a lot and everything, and you're pretty much acclimated to heat. What do you think happened out there?
Well, I don't know. I've been having problems the last few weeks with the heat. I just haven't quite worked it out yet. You know, my day will come where I'll be able to handle the heat. But right now, I'm still working on it.
Well, I bet you're glad about the new format. Only one moto. You don't have to get back on that bike today, and you got 50 points. And I think you're back in the points lead now.
Yeah, I think so. You know, with the one moto format, you don't have to pace yourself. You just go as hard as you can because, you know, as soon as this one's over, that's it for the day.
Well, that's it for the 125cc class. Still a lot of action yet to come as Jeff Stanton signs an autograph or two. We'll be back with the 250s right after this. Stay with us, won't you? Welcome back to Cycle World. We're in San Bernardino, California for AMA National Championship Motocross. Drama in the Kawasaki pits. Now that's Mike LaRocco. Normally there would be 2 riders there testing and getting ready to go out to race, but LaRocco is alone. Mike Kidrowski, his teammate, who I might add has already wrapped up the national championship in this 250 class, earlier this morning in practice crashed and crashed hard. When this video was shot, we had no idea what the outcome would be of Kidrowski, whether or not he would be able to come back and race or not. As of this point, he is still in the hospital, and it appears we will not see him today. LaRocco has that on his mind. On the minds of the mechanics, the pit crew for Team Kawasaki, getting Kidrowski's motorcycle ready. You can see it's bent, it's twisted. He took a rather hard tumble, and at that point in time, they had no idea to the extent of his injuries whether or not he would be able to come back and race. We know now, of course, after the fact, that he's going to be spending the rest of the afternoon in the hospital and will not be joining us. But they're trying to get that bike ready just in case. Here's the crash. Sean Green from Arizona was on hand, look at that tumble, with a video cam, and he just happened to have it turned to the right spot. We're going to watch this crash 3-4 times here. We'll show it to you in slow motion so you can get the idea as to what Mike Kidrowski might be feeling about now. He went down hard. Jim, that is about as nasty of a crash that I've ever seen.
It was a horrible crash, Larry. I've been and I've seen a lot of crashes like that. That's a real fast section. Third gear, about 50 miles an hour. You have a bike come landing on you like that. Here we can see Mike, he's already lost it. The body weight is way over the front of the bike. The bike's just going to land and drill him into the ground.
Again, you're watching home video taken earlier today in practice by Sean Green from Arizona. Mike Kidrowski hitting the ground and hitting the ground hard will not be riding in the main event. Now, we will report to you that Mike Kidrowski is okay. That is in terms of life-threatening injuries. There are none. He does have a severe concussion, a wrenched back, and a severely lacerated tongue. So he'll not be able to ride out here today. He has clinched the championship. That probably is not going to make him feel a lot better. Let's go back in time to the last race in the series. We'll show you how Kidrowski wrapped up the championship. This is the first moto in Troy, Ohio. It was hot there that day, too. In fact, these riders in the first corner decided to stop and take a little dirt nap to get out of the heat. They rested. Meanwhile, up front, Mike Kidrowski was running away with things. He got the whole shot, said goodbye to Mike LaRocco, his Kawasaki teammate, who was chasing him to no avail, while Jeff Matasevich running into number 3 position, then Steve Lamson. Checkered flag time. Here it is. He's waving. He's pumping the fist up and down. Why is he doing that? Because, folks, he is number 1 in the 250cc National Championship Series. Second moto, carbon copy of moto number 1. Kidrowski goes to the front. Carbon copy, where's the crash, you say? There it is. In fact, it looks like the same 3 or 4 riders taking another one of those dirt naps in corner number 1. Meanwhile, at the head of the pack, Mike Kidrowski, rider number 3, Team Kawasaki, shows the rest of the field why he is the 1993 250 champ. Mike LaRocco, his Kawasaki teammate, running in the number 2 position. And where is number 3? There he is. Steve Lamson would take home that honor in moto number 2. Victory ceremony. Mike Kidrowski in the heat of the battle. I'll tell you what, it was about as hot there as it is in San Bernardino today. Keeled over right after he shook that champagne. Had to be treated by the medics, and they carried Mike off. But watch this. In the spirit of wrestling, is he down, folks? Is he out? No! The arm comes up. Kidrowski with one wave to the crowd and a little smile as they load him into the ambulance. Here are the official results from Troy, Ohio. Mike Kidrowski, with a pair of moto wins, took the overall victory. Mike LaRocco finished second, Steve Lamson third, Suzuki's Guy Cooper in fourth. After 7 of 8 events, Mike Kidrowski with the championship locked up. He'll not be racing here in San Bernardino. Battle for second, though, very much alive. LaRocco and Lamson will go at it. We're going to lay just a little bit of water down on the racetrack, and while we're at it, we'll lay a little bit of water down in the fans. We'll be right back with a 250 action. Stay with us. San Bernardino, California, AMA National Championship Motocross on Cycle World. Coming up is the 250cc main event. First, we'll show you how the riders got there. This is heat race number 1. Top 16 riders go into the main. Mike LaRocco upholding the honors for Team Kawasaki in the absence of Mike Kidrowski, who, as you have already seen, out of action due to that practice crash, took the hole shot. He was chased in the early going by Guy Cooper, rider number 7. This is Cooper's last national event of not only the season but of his career, and Cooper's going to go out in style. We'll show you some of that action in just a second here, but first let's check out the race action. It boiled down to a battle between LaRocco, who is currently out in front, and Team Honda's Steve Lamson, rider number 21. Now, Lamson, turning in one of the better rides that he has enjoyed this outdoor season, is going to get by LaRocco. Then the two of them are really going to mix it up. A tough racetrack, a lot of twisting turns, deep sand. It's hard to control a motorcycle under these conditions. The two of them battling side by side, though, apparently had no problems. A tight left-hand hairpin turn. Lamson with the inside line heads down the whoops in the number 1 position as he has made the pass. Is LaRocco through for the day? Nah, LaRocco is just getting warmed up. He's going to find a drive off the jumps. He says, "Goodbye, Mr. Lamson." Mr. Lamson says, "I'm not through yet either," and he regains the number 1 spot. Interesting interchange of positions there, but LaRocco finally puts an end to it. He gets around the outside of Lamson, up over the top of a couple of monster jumps, down through the soft sand, and LaRocco will not be headed for the rest of heat race number 1. He'll take the win with the adrenaline flowing for Steve Lamson. He'll hang tight and finish second. Meanwhile, back in the number 3 position, we just caught a glimpse of him, is Damon Bradshaw. Bradshaw, rider number 8 for Team Yamaha, has had kind of an off and on season, and for the most part it's been off. An injured wrist has plagued him throughout the Outdoor National Championships. He was not present at Troy, Ohio 1 week ago. He's coming back now and riding hurt. Now here's a guy riding his last ever national championship event, or so he claims. Watch this. This is Guy Cooper's style, and he says goodbye to the crowd in one of the most fantastic cross-ups you're ever going to see. Watch, look at this. He's parallel to the ground. He pancakes it all the way down that jump, and I wish I could have seen how he landed, because it looked to me like he was going to shoot right off the side of the racetrack. Jim Holly gestures V for victory as Mike LaRocco took the checkered flag. He was followed across the line by Steve Lamson of Team Honda. Then came Damon Bradshaw. A good strong ride with the injured wrist. Brian Manley rounding out the top 4. The top 16, though, go into the main event. Let's go to heat race number 2. Jim Holly?
I wish I had Guy Cooper in my heat race, Larry. Those were some great cross-ups. I know the fans up on the hill, they wish he was in this one too. He was doing that every lap of the heat race. Up front, Jeff Matasevich had the early lead, but Jeff Stanton here working on John Dowd for second place is gonna make the pass on him right there. Just kind of shuts the door a little bit, and he's on his way. It's good to see Jeff Stanton back. He hasn't been riding in a while. He's had a nagging back injury. Here we're going to see him working on the leader, Jeff Matasevich. And I might want to add a little note here. Both these riders' contracts are up, and it's going to be a good win for them if they can win this race. So that's got to be a plus on winning a heat race for these two guys. Jeff Stanton, on the other hand, just coming back from a back injury. This track's got to take a toll on a back. It's Supercross, outdoor, up, down. You're always constantly working with the bike. You're changing your body positioning here. Here we're going to see the pass coming up. Jeff Stanton just kind of dives to the inside, and I think Jeff Matasevich is going to be happy with second spot here. Jeff Stanton's going to go on for the win. Jeff Matasevich on a Suzuki in second. John Dowd on a Kawasaki in third. Lance Smell rounding out the top 4 on a Honda. Good ride for the privateer from Washington.
Last chance qualifier, top 8 finishers will move into the main event. Check out the body work on rider number 111's motorcycle, Mike Healy. It's called a rhino skin. You see that there's a lot of extra plastic draped over the engine, the sides of the engine, almost down to the foot pegs, in fact. It's a wide, expansive area to put on sponsor stickers. He takes the checkered flag, Mike Healy does, along with that rhino skin. Damon Kemp in the number 2 position, then Pat Gom and Josh Boykin rounding out the top 4. But again, the top 8 will go into the main. And that's the way they qualified for the upcoming main event. Here is the race analysis. In 1992, the winner was Jean-Michel Bayle. It was a 500cc Grand Prix, a World Championship event. Format today, double points. It's only one race, don't forget, not 2 motos. Weather condition, 110 degrees. I want to tell you, it's hot out here, and it's not going to rain. And I would have to think that the riders on the line would welcome a brief shower at this point in time. They're not going to get it. The gate is down. The start is underway. It's Damon Bradshaw on the inside. He takes the whole shot, and a couple of riders, let's make it about 6, are taking a dirt bath in the back part of the racetrack. Only 2 of them hit the ground. Dag Boyson was one of them. They're up and running. Meanwhile, at the other end, here's Damon Bradshaw diving. And Bradshaw,
Look at that.
Oh, wow. Bradshaw come off the top of that jump. Jimmy landed on the front wheel. The bike went sideways. I thought he was going to go down.
Unbelievable save there, Larry. I think he had the whole shot. I think he wants to silence a lot of his critics. A lot of people have been putting a lot of pressure on him. Can Damon Bradshaw win? He's trying really hard out there today, Larry.
Well, the critics have been hard on Damon Bradshaw, maybe rightfully so, maybe wrongfully so. Who knows? In any event, he has not had the type of year that most of us expected after an outstanding Supercross season 1 year ago. Bradshaw is out front. He's being followed by a privateer, Mike Fisher. Fisher's been riding, kind of off and on this season. We see him at 2 or 3 nationals, and we don't see him again. He's doing extremely well for the amount of riding that he has had in so far this season. An excellent ride. Jeff Matasevich doing the chasing from the number 3 position, but all eyes are on Damon Bradshaw as he leads this pack, and I think to a horde of California fans, they want to see him do well. We'll be back to see how he does right after this. AMA Championship Motocross. Damon Bradshaw is still the leader, but Steve Lamson is, and Bradshaw bobbles, and Steve Lamson went from 2nd place to 1st just like that. Lamson had caught Bradshaw while we were away in commercial. When we came back, he was hot on his heels, hot on his rear wheel, and he made the pass. So Lamson is the new leader, Bradshaw running 2nd, Matasevich not far off the pace in the number 3 position. The field beginning to stretch out. The question would have to be, in my mind, can Damon Bradshaw come back? He made a mistake. He bobbled. Steve Lamson went around the outside of him to take over the number 1 position, and Lamson looking for his first victory, and Bradshaw goes down. Lack of concentration, I'm not sure what caused it, but Bradshaw, making that corner, lost control of the Yamaha. It spit him off. He hit the ground. He's quickly up, probably more embarrassed than anything else. In any event, he's going to drop well off the pace. Let's take a look at the replay, Jim.
Well, he's coming into the corner beautifully here. Just looks to me like he grabbed too much throttle. The rear end went around the other side. He tried to compensate, shut the throttle off. Unfortunately, got in a little bit more mud, went down really hard. It's unfortunate because I think he was here to make a statement. He might have been pushing a little bit too hard today, and I don't know if he's going to be able to come back and win this thing, Larry.
A major problem that Bradshaw has had this year is recovering from a mistake. Seems like when he makes one of those errors that he loses all of his confidence and works his way even further back in the pack. Maybe not today. Hopefully he'll recover. This is the battle for 4th place. John Dowd, rider number 27 from Chicopee, Massachusetts, is in 4th. In 5th place, it's Phil Lawrence. Running in the number 6 position, Mike Fisher. We had a shot of Fisher earlier up closer to the front. I told you Fisher had not been riding all that much, and obviously the heat, the sun, the rigors of this course taking its toll, and Lawrence to the outside makes the pass. Lawrence found a great line through that series of jumps and whoops. He moves into the number 4 position. Now here's the battle for 2nd. LaRocco, rider number 5, is in 3rd place. Matasevich has that number 2 position nailed down. LaRocco goes to the inside, and LaRocco made the pass. Great move.
It was an excellent move. LaRocco has coming up from one of his bad starts. He wants to win this thing. Mike Krudowski's out. He's got one guy ahead of him, Steve Lamson, and he thinks that he can catch Lamson. I mean, he's always used to working up from the back of the pack, and I don't think Matasevich is going to put on a charge anymore, Larry.
That's Jeff Stanton, and he's pulling off the racetrack. We've not seen Stanton at all in this race. He started at the back of the pack, has been working his way through. He's got a problem.
I think he does. You know, we can't speculate what it is. He's had a bad back. That could be bothering him. I've never known Jeff to pull off unless something's really wrong.
I'll guarantee there is nothing wrong with Phil Lawrence. He has caught Jeff Matasevich. This is the fight for the number 3 position. Matasevich in 3rd, Lawrence in 4th, and Lawrence is on a mission.
He's riding really well here, you know. Here, whoa, he's going to make the pass right here. He just cuts right in front of Matasevich. A great move on Phil Lawrence's part. He's working up from a bad start. He's pushing.
Yeah, he's pushing Matasevich off the racetrack. Let's go to the head of the pack. This is the battle now for the number 1 position. Lamson still controls the pace of the race, but he has company. Mike LaRocco has moved within striking distance. This is going to be a good finish. Lamson, LaRocco, Lawrence, and Dowd. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the final laps of the 250cc main event, AMA National Championship Motocross. We're in San Bernardino, California. Mike LaRocco, number 5, has been stalking Steve Lamson, and he made the pass. Lamson and LaRocco have been locked in a drama-filled battle for the past several laps. It's been unbelievable motocross action, and finally it paid off for Mike LaRocco. Let's go back and take another look at that pass. Jim Holly, he set it up and did it beautifully.
I think he likes this corner because in the heat race, this is the exact same place that he passed Jeff Mcgrath, exact same way. He just comes underneath Steve Lamson, block passes him a little bit. Steve has no way to cut back underneath. LaRocco's got the momentum. He's been coming up from the back of the pack. He wants this win.
That pass was important for a couple of reasons. Obviously, the win, as you pointed out, but they're in a battle for the number 2 position in the championship standings. And as Mike LaRocco takes the checkered flag, he's going to cement that position over Steve Lamson. An outstanding effort on the part of LaRocco. His first ever 250cc national championship win. Got to be a great big smile under that helmet, despite the heat and the water being dumped, washing the sand and the heat away. Here are the official results from the final 250cc championship event of the season. Mike LaRocco wins it, Steve Lamson second, Phil Lawrence with a great ride finishing third. John Dowd will end up as the top privateer with fourth place. Guy Cooper finished fifth. He says this is his last national championship event ever. We'll see. Donald Upton, then Mike Fisher and Jeremy Buell. Jeff Mcgrath, with an apparent problem in the late going of that race, out of sight of our cameras, has dropped out of the top 8. Final standings of the 250cc National Championship season, a pair of Kawasaki's out front in first and second, then Lamson and John Dowd. Jim Holly has made his way down to winner's circle. He's with Mike LaRocco. Jim?
Mike LaRocco, great job out there. It's about a 12-second lead. You got a bad start out there, but you kept pushing all the way. How'd you do it?
Actually, with the heat like this, I just kind of take it easy and, rode through for the win.
How about the heat? It looks like the heat got to everybody, but you look pretty fine out there. Doug Henry collapsed. You look like you can go another moto.
Yeah, maybe a little bit after I replace the fluids.
Great job, Mike. Thanks.
An outstanding effort on the part of Mike LaRocco. For Jim Holly, I'm Larry Myers. Hope you've enjoyed this edition of Cycle World. The next time we see you will be in Millville, Minnesota for 500cc motocross.